Sometimes life doesn't test us when we have plenty. It tests us when we have almost nothing. And sometimes the hardest decisions aren't about survival, they're about who you choose to be, even when no one is watching. This is the story of a woman who stood at the edge of temptation and chose honesty over money. What followed was loss, silence, doubt, and a reward she never expected. Aisha had learned early in life that nothing came easy. Every morning, before the city fully woke up, she was already awake, sitting quietly on the edge of her bed, listening to the distant sounds of traffic and early vendors preparing for the day. Her room was small, simple, barely enough space to stretch her arms. But it was hers. She would sit there for a moment, staring at the wall, gathering strength not just for the day ahead, but for the invisible weight she carried every single day. Bills that never waited, dreams that felt postponed, and a future that remained unclear. Still, Aisha never complained. She believed that complaining wouldn't change anything, effort would. Work was never stable. Some weeks, she found temporary jobs. Other weeks, she relied on favors, small tasks, and opportunities that appeared and disappeared just as quickly. She learned to stretch little money far, to skip meals when necessary, to smile when her heart felt tired. And yet, despite everything, Aisha held on to one thing fiercely: her integrity. It was the one thing poverty hadn't taken from her. One afternoon, an opportunity appeared. At least, that's what it seemed like. She had been called in for what she believed was a routine job discussion. Nothing special, nothing promising. The office was modest but professional. Clean floors, quiet air, a sense of importance that made her straighten her posture. She sat across from someone she barely knew. Documents lay on the table, and beside them, an envelope. Thick, too thick. Aisha noticed it immediately. Her heart tightened. The conversation began casually. Polite words, small explanations. Then the offer came, not spoken loudly, not aggressively, just calmly. She was being asked to overlook something, ignore a detail, sign off on something that wasn't entirely right. Nothing illegal, at least not on the surface, but dishonest. And in return, the envelope: enough money to solve her immediate problems, enough to breathe again, enough to quiet the anxiety that kept her awake at night. For a moment, Aisha didn't speak. She stared at the table, at the envelope, at her hands. Her mind raced. This could change everything, she thought. She imagined paying her rent on time, buying groceries without counting every note, taking a break even just for a moment from survival mode. No one would know. No one would get hurt. And people did this kind of thing all the time. So why did her chest feel so tight? She looked up. Her eyes met the person across the table. There was no pressure, no threat, just expectation. And that made it harder because the decision was entirely hers. Aisha asked for a moment. Later that evening, she walked home slowly, her thoughts louder than the city around her. The envelope wasn't with her, but its presence followed her like a shadow. Is honesty a luxury only the comfortable can afford? Does integrity really matter when survival is at stake? She replayed every past struggle in her mind, every rejection, every closed door, every night she had gone to bed hungry. And then She asked herself a different question. If I accept this, who do I become afterward? That night, sleep didn't come easily. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the city outside. She imagined accepting the money. At first, it felt like relief, but then unease. A quiet voice inside her whispered something she couldn't ignore. If you betray yourself once, it becomes easier the next time. The next morning, Aisha returned. She sat at the same table, the same documents, the same envelope. She took a deep breath and gently pushed it back. Her voice was calm when she spoke. I can't do this. No anger, no accusation, just honesty. The room felt suddenly colder. There was a pause, then a nod. The conversation ended quickly. No argument, no persuasion, just a quiet understanding that the opportunity and the money were gone. Aisha stood up, walked out, and as the door closed behind her, something heavy settled in her chest. She had done the right thing, but the right thing didn't feel rewarding. The days that followed were difficult, harder than before. Opportunities became scarce. Calls went unanswered. Applications led nowhere. She began to wonder if honesty had cost her more than she could afford. There were moments, quiet moments, when doubt crept in. Did I make a mistake? Was I foolish to turn it down? She watched others get ahead. People who cut corners. People who seemed unbothered by moral questions. And she remained stuck. One evening, after another long day, Aisha sat alone in her room. The lights were dim. Her hands rested in her lap. She felt tired, not just physically, but deeply emotionally tired. For the first time in a long while, tears came, not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears of exhaustion. But even then, she didn't regret her choice. She didn't wish she had taken the money. What hurt wasn't the honesty, it was the waiting, the uncertainty, the fear that doing the right thing might never be rewarded. Life continued, and Aisha continued too. She took small jobs, helped where she could, offered kindness even when she had little to give. One afternoon, she noticed a woman struggling, overwhelmed, confused, clearly out of place. Others passed by. Aisha didn't. She listened, she helped. She didn't expect anything in return. She never did. Unbeknownst to her, someone was watching. Days passed, then weeks. And just when Aisha had accepted that life would remain unchanged, that honesty was simply something you lived with, not something you benefited from. Something unexpected happened. One morning, she was approached by a well-dressed woman, confident, calm, observant. The woman greeted her by name. Aisha froze. They spoke briefly. Then the woman said something that made Aisha's heart stop. I've been looking for you. They sat down and the woman began to speak. She explained that she has seen everything. The refusal, the integrity, the quiet strength. She explained that in a world filled with shortcuts, she was searching for someone she could trust, truly trust. And Aisha had proven herself without knowing it. The offer that followed was different, transparent, honest, and an opportunity based not on compromise, but on character. Aisha listened, barely breathing. It didn't feel real. When the conversation ended, Aisha sat alone for a long time. The city moved around her, but inside, something shifted. For the first time in months, She smiled, not because life had become easy, but because life had become meaningful again. Aisha accepted the opportunity, not because it made her rich overnight, but because it allowed her to grow, to walk with dignity, to build a future she didn't have to hide from. Today, her life looks different. Not perfect, but honest and stable and peaceful. Looking back, Aisha understands something she didn't before. Honesty doesn't always reward you immediately. Sometimes it tests how long you're willing to stand alone. But when the reward comes, it comes without regret. Because money earned without integrity disappears quickly. But character opens doors that money never can. If this story moved you, remember this. Doing the right thing may cost you in the moment, but it shapes who you become forever. And sometimes the right people are watching, even when you think no one is. If this story touched your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe for more real stories that remind us honesty still matters. Your next lesson might be the one you need most.